I'm working on training LLMs and being able to get like
Guys,
really
let's
good
go ahead and
DPO results after
get
like
started. Thank you for
lots of
coming
multi-turns.
to another edition of the ML Ops meetup.
So like just
Up in the state.
language alignment, yeah. So a lot of
DPO stand for?
Sorry, I only said that because you're here.
correct policy.
Brandon runs the
It's one of the
goal,
URL
so
Yeah. It's one of
we
those.
gotta
Yeah,
compete
so
a
we're
little
just trying to
bit.
focus on like how do you get to know and still have like a good conversation
Yeah, so
for hundreds of minutes, 200 minutes. Like, have it
we
still
start with
Outside of just like
announcements.
summarization techniques.
First, we want to thank Weave for giving us a building. Let's give a Weave a nice round of applause. They gave us a building and pizza, so you can thank Casey sitting out there by the door. You can thank Casey for all the pizza that he gave us. After the meetup, if there's still pizza, feel free to take some home. Like nobody wants it. They just give it to sales in the morning, and they don't need it. So this meetup is also sponsored by the Forge Utah Foundation. Forge Utah is just a nonprofit. They run a bunch of meetups. They've got a great online community in addition to the meetup community, with several meetups. You can join the Slack. Just go to forgeutah.tech, click on the button right in the middle. There's a couple channels that you get automatically added to. Then you can join the All Things AI channel, where we talk about Cursor, Windsurfer, and the machine learning channel, where I don't even know what they were talking about in there. I've been talking about the DuckDB UI in the data engineering channel because that's the coolest thing to me is the DuckDB UI. And yeah. If you are looking for a job, best place to look is the Forge Utah Jobs channel. They post quite regularly. They do post mostly data focused jobs, I think. Anyway, there have been a lot of data focused jobs recently. It's a great place to look. If you are looking for employment, there's also a jobs wanted channel where you can post your resume. I don't know what the activity is like there because I've never actually posted my resume. Not because I don't look for jobs, just people usually. Anyway, I am heavily recruited, and I chew my own horn about it. And you will never get me to work with you. Sorry. But yeah, if you're looking for a job, you want to post your resume, get some feedback. People do look at that for other opportunities. And then some people would just like give me resume review, and then they'll like drill it about how your 2-page resume should only be 1 page, and then the other half of the conversation is actually it should be 3 pages because they just have AI parts it. It doesn't matter. We do have a meetup next month. Next month, Jeremy will be speaking. He's sitting there in the back. So he will be speaking next month. 4th week, April here. And we'll go ahead. We've got Jake speaking to us today. He has a great talk prepared, and I'll turn the time right over you. You can introduce yourself and get started.
I think like get this. Welcome. Thanks for coming today. My name is Jake Backus, and speaking of job board and everything, I was let go last month. So if at the end of this you feel like I know a little bit about anything, please connect with me. I'll have my LinkedIn on there, and you can connect, and hopefully I can get another job. I am by no means an AI expert. I just really got into AI last year. A deep technical expert in Salesforce CRM. Who knows what Salesforce is, what CRM is?
Yeah.
Salesforce.
Yeah, about half. Okay, that's pretty good. So Salesforce has been around for a long time. I think they started in the 90s. They're a platform as a service, so they say that you can build on their platform, you can develop on it, customize it to your needs. And CRM, that's customer relationship management. So their software works for any business that interacts with customers, which is every business. So, yeah, we're going to talk about how enterprise systems, especially Salesforce, are pioneering or introducing AI into their tools. That is for end users, that's for business to business work, and that's for employees at companies. So there's a lot of different ways and different features they're doing that. And open forum, feel free to pause me or ask any questions if I say something you don't understand or dive deeper. I am going to have a demo at the end as well. So we'll jump into a Salesforce org and you'll see a little bit of a no-code AI model builder that you can do. Pretty interesting. So this is what I'll be going over. Just already did kind of what is Salesforce and CRM. Salesforce has been working with AI for the past 10 years. It's nothing new. They started with analytics and they've gone to natural language processing and all of the fun features that we have that everyone knows about today with AI. And they've done a lot of acquisitions towards that. They haven't built everything out of the box themselves. So we'll go into some of those things. A big concern with AI is always data. Where is your data? Is it secure? When you give it to the AI model, is it secure data? Are you giving away data you shouldn't? Salesforce has something they call a trust layer. Customer 360 platform will kind of go over the high level architecture for that and how they're kind of leading the way in making sure that their customers' data is protected. Their customers are companies, right, that are implementing the software. So, and that always ends up being the consumer's data. And then, like I said, a brief demo. So we can actually already skip past this unless anyone has any questions about CRM or Salesforce. I'll just jump to the next. So, yeah, like I said, they've been doing it for about 10 years. Around 2016, they started coming out with some AI features. It was really Tableau-y and Doma, just really robust reporting and rule-based reporting. Really early stuff, and didn't even seem like AI at the time. They weren't advertising it as AI, it was just analytics. After that, they actually kind of renamed their AI things as Einstein. It wasn't Einstein AI. I don't remember it being that way. They just called it Einstein. Actually, it was a lot of machine learning and deep learning around that time, right? So, your neural networks having multiple layers. Nobody in the industry knew that, right? I mean, these are Salesforce admins that are figuring the system. They don't really understand AI. And so not a lot of people knew what they were doing there, but they were pioneering back then. They also introduced as a free feature, because of probably the lack of interest in AI at the time, scoring into their platform. So something that a lot of businesses want to do with AI is tell me which leads I should focus on, which deals I should focus on, opportunities. They came out with a pretty lightweight scoring framework that they let you hook into, and some scores and natural language sort of feedback. We'll go a little more into that. And 2017, 2020, they came out with chatbots, and those did do some natural language processing, which was pretty interesting. But then you dove in and it was really basic. There were huge limitations on it, but you were able to kind of hook up a couple actions to these chatbots, drop them on your website or your community, and have your customers interact with those and maybe take a couple actions before they were able to kind of get directed to an agent. And they further kind of built out more predictive analytics. This is where they acquired Tableau for visualization. 2020, 2023, they kept building out. They did more acquisitions for hyper automation. They had RPA, robotic process automation. And they did this with MuleSoft and Service Trace. My next slide here, we'll get into the acquisitions actually, but those tools kind of combined allowed them not only to just build more automation, but to automate across multiple systems. So MuleSoft is a middleware, if you're familiar with those, and can allow you to take actions or through APIs into other systems.
I guess I don't understand RPA. What was Salesforce using robotic process optimization for?
Automation.
Automation.
Yeah, so they were using that to take small actions to automate redundant tasks. And
With
especially
robotics.
with programming like workflows, right? And
Like
do that
operator
across
back when
multiple
it sucked
systems.
even worse.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like the, hey, I need to jump into this system, fill out a record, jump into the next system, fill out the same thing, probably stuff like that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then most recently in the past couple years, they've been really getting into generative AI, Einstein GPT. You know, they throw GPT onto everything. But
Present, so this.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing for Chris's eyes back here.
the upper right.
I guess.
Slideshow button.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We're blaming Chris. Yeah, that better? Thanks. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
You know this history really well, or, I mean, rule-based workflows. What are they doing there?
That's a good question. So I know a lot of this, not all of it. This line is one I know a little bit less about. As far as I know, they're referring to what MuleSoft and Service Trace did, and it really is. It's like there's lots of tools out there that let you do like small tasks, like, hey, I need to send this text into this field or this table or something like that, and it'll know what to do with it. Really small things like. But the combination of the two, MuleSoft allowed you to set up configurators that would point into different systems, so they weren't stuck in a silo with the automation they built.
And then one other question, please. What are they trying to accomplish? What problems are they actually trying to solve? Customers interfacing with their UI and whatever,
Yeah,
or using MuleSoft so that the administrative staff in a business is a Salesforce customer can automate workflows that are typical and had been manual operations prior.
yeah. That I can only guess. I don't work at Salesforce. You know, they have a whole kind of separate company that does, like, Salesforce Ventures, I believe is what it's called, that does their acquisitions and investments. So they'll invest into some products to help them grow and then acquire them. So they've got a whole process for what they're doing. Based on what I know today, you know, they were just trying to build out what natural language could do and further automation. So their platform being built in the cloud, one of the first enterprise cloud-based systems, they focused on an API first approach, which allowed people to call into their system and do pretty much anything that you could do administratively in their UI, which was pretty unique. And a lot of other software out there doesn't always do that. Sometimes you don't have an API. You have to log in and manually do it, right? And so I imagine that the RPA, that is, hey, it opens a browser for me, maybe logs in on the browser, right? And goes through steps. It's a lot more than just API access. And MuleSoft helps with API access part.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think they were just trying to solve analytics and repetitive tasks across systems that were not their. Yeah, good question. Yeah, so Einstein GPT, they slapped GPT on the end of it, of course. What's new? And yeah, they enabled essentially email templates that will use natural language, case summaries, You know, with Salesforce, they have various products and you get, cases that come in that could be for your sales process, they can be for your service team, right? Where customers have issues and a lot of times it's hard to keep up on all of the cases that are open, or maybe you need to transition to another rep. Case summaries come in handy for that. And then it came out with, Agent Force, which, is agentic AI, right? They're trying to come out with, different customized agents for every product they have. So if you think of a service team, they have a service cloud product and they want a service agent rep for that can help automate a lot of those things. And finally, yeah, the trust and data. They've built a real focus on trust and data privacy. I've seen a lot of the folks from Salesforce advocating for data governance and privacy within the industry. Even when you go, they have their own like learning platform, a lot of tools do. The main focus of that is about data governance and really just making sure that you're not misusing customer data. So they're pretty forward focused on that. Yeah, what's up?
So I was gonna ask, the Einstein GPT, is that a reference to the fact that they're just calling ChatGPT, or are they actually doing generative pre-trained transformer stuff along with the deep learning stuff they were doing before?
Both.
Okay, so they are actually doing custom generative pre-trained transformer in Einstein.
And they allow you as well to connect to, to bring your own model. You can build your own in-house and connect to those. And ChatGPT, of course, OpenAI. I don't know that there's any others that they connect with yet, if there are any. But yeah, they're trying to make it so that you can bring whichever company you trust their GPT models. Yeah. Yeah, and the future, I mean, this is the future of any AI, trying to get multimodal. You know, especially I think of sales features, right? They really want to have real time verbal support. So they're not trying to get rid of agents, real people, right? Maybe on a call you have an agent on there, a chatbot agent and a real person. And that agent is actually helping by asking supportive questions or be like, hey, you forgot to ask about this. And also maybe it's documenting for you or filling out your data in your database at the same time. That's kind of the focus they're going with, is let's not replace people, let's support people. So yeah. So here's kind of their acquisition history. We talked about a couple of these. I know a few of these, not all of them. So MetaMind, that was a big one. For them, it kind of kicked off their deep learning and NLP. And I'm going to demo essentially MetaMind's interface for you when I jump in and do the demo. It's essentially a code-free way to build a neural network model. Crux, helping with data management, also worked with Marketing Cloud, doing marketing-driven insights and targeted marketing. Datorama and MuleSoft acquisitions, again, going for marketing and analytics, and then MuleSoft, you know, connecting to multiple sources of data and your different systems with middleware. And then Tableau, getting into visualization and analytics of your data. Like software, so this was just for scheduling, really helped with field service. For instance, you know, I've got 10 stops to go to today. What's the optimal route? Maybe if I'm starting from location A and another rep is starting from location B, that you know, I need to separate out the stops that we have today and split it up between the two. So I use AI to kind of path through the best route for them. And it's pretty intensive software. Slack, service trace. This is where we were talking about RPA and AI automation. And most recently Spiff, which is commissions, using AI to help track and do analytics on sales commissions for sales reps. So some of the AI features you've got, there's Einstein Prediction Builder. So this is where you've got the no code environment to build a prediction model within Salesforce UI. So you don't have to do any code. It kind of already picks the methods that it's going to use for how to measure the model's accuracy and things like that. So you don't get to go pick your one coder or your metrics so much. It just kind of tells you if it's good enough or not and go forward with it. But you do get to choose which data you give it. And it does have to be within the platform of Salesforce, or where they've expanded recently is this data, they call it data cloud layer, where essentially you just have to port data in closer to their systems. Design discovery with analytics, the bots, the Einstein bots. So that really, like I was saying, it started as bots that you could drop on websites and things, and now they have the agents that are a little more robust. And then the scoring that I was mentioning, so which is really for your marketing team and helping score those, then your opportunities, which are really for your sales team and scoring those. As I was mentioning earlier as well, the bring your own model. So they have Einstein Studio, and these are the ones you can connect to, right? AWS SageMaker, Google Vertex AI, Azure ML, OpenAI. You can connect to models. It'll automatically send your requests over there and get the answers back. And then the trust layer. So I've got, we'll dive into that one, but they have a robust set of steps. Essentially, you might think of it a pipeline where it's taking out your customer data too, and injecting, just temporary data like data masking, and making sure that there's no retention in your AI models of anything that you send it. So it's all just kind of kept secret and separated. And then there's we'll get into it. And then GPT, which I mentioned, is essentially where you can store prompts and have those configured with automation, systemic automation to run when you need it. So you can use that to fill out the values on your records based on, we'll say, like call transcripts or other data on your records, and kind of fill out usually long text fields. But then you can also use it to send emails. It's like a robust email template. And you can get some reporting and customer insights out of that. And then Agent Force, as I've been alluding to. These are really way more robust agents. So you can actually, you give them instructions. I think of it like a GPT on OpenAI, right? You can spin up your own, you can give it instructions. The instructions can also use dynamic rounding by pulling in data. So you can say, hey, this agent needs to know whenever someone makes this request that you have open cases or not. Okay, so it goes and queries open cases that they have or their whole case history, injects that data into the request, again, following the trust layer to make sure that it's secure. And then it'll give each agent different topics that it can talk about. So maybe one agent can talk about sales, but it can also talk about refunds. It can also talk about returns. And maybe those different topics have different actions they can take. And so that's how it kind of helps separate out what these bots can do and when they should do it. So here's sort of a high level view of the Salesforce platform. So in the middle, there's the customer 360. This is really Salesforce's product suite. So you've got all of these are clouds. They have a sales cloud, Slack cloud, service cloud, marketing cloud, experience cloud, revenue cloud. So that's what they label all their products. They fit different areas of your business, of your end-to-end business process. But that's really where your business logic is, where your employees are operating, or in the case of experience, where your customers or partners are operating and taking actions, visualizing your data and taking actions. On the bottom is the data cloud. That's where they've got, says, in case you can't see it, zero copy and RAG, right? And that's where they let you, set up data streams, pull in data from multiple sources, and inject data using a middleware or use its streaming to pull in data. But it really needs this to operate on large amounts of data that aren't necessarily actionable data for employees. So the CRM system, Salesforce in particular, it's a transactional based system. So it's not meant for lots of actions that operate on large amounts of data. It should be operating on one or two pieces of data, right? I've got a customer that calls in, I open up their account and I take an action on their account, their case. So it's really meant for small transactional things and not large data operations. So they need this data cloud separate to that. And then they've got the agent force spread on top of that, right? Where they're trying to say that, hey, you've got your app and you built your business logic into that. Well, on top of that, we can just add an agent and they're gonna know how to operate within the actions that you typically take there and help and support your internal employees in those areas. And I didn't mention the bottom, but it's Salesforce platform. Those are, the basics. So you've got automation that you can do on the platform. And security and privacy is down there, right? So Salesforce has probably one of the most robust security layers that I've seen. I'll go to this slide first. So out of the box with Salesforce, you have all of this sharing just for your normal users, but this applies when you get into an agent or any API integration with another system. So you can have territories. So if you do sales territories, and maybe certain agents or certain things should only operate within a specific territory, you have security there. You can set up specific teams within those territories that take action on, right? Maybe you need not just a sales rep, but a solution engineer, and other people that support that. So you pull in the team. There's manual sharing. Hey, I'm going to be out tomorrow. Can you take over my account for me? I'm going to manually share this record with you, even though you shouldn't normally have access to it. It's kind of one-off sharing rules, role hierarchy, org-wide defaults. It's robust. So that's already in there, controlling access to tables, columns in your table, and records, rows on the table, right? Now we get into the trust layer of Einstein GPT, right? So if you think about the agent or whatever is called initiating a GPT prompt, right? There is some sort of user in Salesforce, a user record that's adhered to this sharing. And then it is being given permission to look at whatever you're looking at on your screen at that time, ask it to take an action, map out how it can do that action. And by that, I mean, hey, if I ask you to, what's a good example here? If I ask you to aggregate how many open opportunities I have, right, for this customer, really easy thing, right? It'll know that you actually need to start at the account level, and it'll query the account. Then it'll query all the opportunities under that. And then it will do a summation of those, an aggregation, and then it will give you that really basic example, but it has an AI, they call it Atlas, for planning out the steps that it needs to get to the final action that it takes. And all of that is going to be restricted by that user's permissions. Yeah, so at that point, then you get to where, you see my mouse? Yeah. Yeah, so you get to the prompt point, right? So I create a prompt. It then goes through your prompt, which is, it's a static prompt that you've saved somewhere in the system already. And it pulls that up and it goes through secure data retrieval. So maybe that prompt says, hey, I need to go get the cases. So if the user doesn't have access to those cases, it won't get them and it won't see them. It'll continue to run, but it'll think, hey, there's no cases. So secure data retrieval, then the dynamic rounding into the prompt that you've built. And then it does the data masking, right? So that's actually, again, it's a static configuration that you built before any of this is happening. And it's literally, it's very explicit. So you'll go field by field. So if you think of a spreadsheet, it's column by column. I want you to data mask this column and that column and this one. And it'll do that. It'll just put in filler text. Then it'll go from there, from Salesforce into a secure gateway over to where they have a zero retention with their AI models. So they have a partnership with like OpenAI, for example, where it won't remember any of their prompts that are sent that way. And then it comes back and it'll actually start to generate your response there. Then it'll do a toxicity detection because this is a business, right? They can't allow any toxicity to go through. Hallucinates or say anything horrible. And then there is for SOX compliance reasons, there's an audit trail. So every action that it takes is saved in an audit log and then finally returns that back to the user. Yeah, any questions on the trust layer or anything talked about for a minute? Been talking for a long time. You can, these are, what images are all taken off of Google. Search for trust layer. You can search for security model, Salesforce, and these will come up. Okay. Yep, demo. So Andrew was just going to take us through a couple of blog posts real quick. So this was easier because they had screenshots already of this. So what happened to the post? So I didn't have to go and build it. Okay. Okay. So this is the prediction builder. As I was telling you, it's the UI for a no-code prediction model, and it's a flow. You can just walk through it, fill out what you need to fill out, and you're good to go. So this example, it's a binary output, so yes, no, that you're trying to fill out, and it'll run asynchronously on your data and fill this information out. And you just start by telling it which object, which table in your system you want to look at. You can set up filters for it, or which records do I want to run this on, or which records do I want to build my knowledge based on. And you see where you can do either a number prediction. So if it's binary, you could go down the number path, but in this case it's a yes, no. And then you can say which field it is that you want to put this into, or which already has answers for you, right? So your target variable. Or there's no field, you can actually set the criteria for what is a yes. Right? So maybe I don't have any existing data in my system that tells me the target that I'm trying to go for. So let me just explicitly call out the criteria right here. All within their UI. These fields, I mean, they'll tell you the fields that are on the object as you look through it and give you the type there. So, you know, if it's a date field, then if you operate, and you can explicitly call out negative examples that you want to filter out. And then you can specify the data that you do want to run through the model, which values are helpful. There's probably a lot of noise even in this, like it's got system stamp fields. You wouldn't want to put that in your data, but select it there. Wouldn't want to put that in your model. Then so you'll build it, it'll run, it'll think about it for a while with your data. It'll present you with a scorecard. Can you show me the scorecard? Yeah. It doesn't have an image of the scorecard. Well, the overview tab of the scorecard is what I want to show you. Let me see if I can. Yeah, that's right here. This is kind of your overview. Might be easier to log in and show you this. It's not. Trailhead, if you want to learn anything about Salesforce, Trailhead is the place to go. You can jump in there, make an account, and it's just a learning platform. You can search for whatever you want to look for. If you're interested in AI on Salesforce, you can search for Einstein and it'll come up with some stuff for you. So this is the interface of Salesforce. This is what an admin sees of the system. Here, and we'll open up a model real quick. So I built the same model 3 times. Same model 3 times. And so you can see here how it's not consistent. So I wouldn't call this cutting edge within Salesforce, but this data wasn't exactly great either. It was all just test data. Sometimes it said you had too low a score, too high the score, but I did the same thing every time. So anyways, we'll go and view the scorecard here. And you can see where it's kind of telling you some of the settings that you had. Yeah, I'm predicting a yes, no on this object, this table. I'm doing a filtering, and this is where my results are going to go. So if it was a yes or no, it'll show up on this field so I can see that in the table. And it does give you your top predictors. So you're probably familiar with that if you use I'm blanking now. What is it? The tree forest models, and they give you the top fields that are helping predict. Random forest. Yeah, so it kind of does the same thing, tells you like the top fields that are affecting your predictions, and then it's giving me a score here, which So you can see if it was a score of 50 to 51, your accuracy is no better than random, so they won't actually even let you go live with it. You'd have to fix your data, get more data. But this one happened to score great. And you can see that it says that it's using the RROC, the area under your curve, to determine the quality. You can't change that, right? So extreme limitations on building these, especially if you know how to build these out. But I think the key thing here is that Salesforce and the people working on Salesforce admins, they're not AI experts. And if they went through this flow, which when I did a year ago, you have no idea what you're doing. You just know that you're trying to predict the value. And anyone, any admin, any company that needs it, they'll ask their admin to do it and they can go and do it. That doesn't mean that it's gonna operate.
So I see the red zone on the left between 50 and whatever. What's the red zone on the right? What label does it give that?
That's too accurate. Too good to be true, 95 to 100. I don't know. Well, yeah, I had the one that said it was too high, so it wouldn't let me activate that. So it will prevent it. Yeah. So a couple minor guardrails for your Salesforce admins who have no idea how to do AI and are trying to implement it for your businesses. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. Anything else I would bring up here? Think I'm about done. Yeah, I guess with these models, they do have a way for you to retrain it, right? So, you know, a year later, you've been putting more and more data in, you want to run it based on fresh data. It'll let you do that. They also advocate for tracking your like governance decisions and things. So I chose to include or exclude this data. They have a way to track that on your scorecards. It's just free format text, like if you wanna. Yeah. And then, do I have anything on agents? Code-free agents. So the agents are all really new. Last 6 months, they've been coming out, and they've been changing probably every month. They started with one that was generic and they promised more, and now they have one for, like you saw, for sort of one for every product is their goal. That'll be customized to that product, and then you can customize it further for your business needs. This is also on the studio. So this just kind of shows you that sort of the sort of testing that you can do. This, oh yeah, this is the agent builder. Okay, so now you're seeing a different tool. This is not the prediction builder, model builder. This is your agent builder. So this is where you can see sort of on the left here, a list of actions. So these can be pieces of automation, right? You see things like create a task, draft or revise an email. There's a bunch of actions that you can have, and you assign that to your specific agent, and you put those under different topics, right? So, you know, all those might be related to sales. It looks like on here, answer a question with knowledge, maybe that's support, right? And so you might have different topics that it's talking about, and then you can test that, and it'll actually just let you talk into it like a GPT, right over here on the right, and it tells you all of the input and outputs that it's doing behind the scenes. So you can see on this one where it said, please get me an invoice adding 310 items for this product with a 31% discount. And so what it had to figure out was, I need to find that record by name. So I found the account for Missoula and Sons account, dynamically built a query into the system for that and got the results, which was a specific record ID. Then it used, it went and found the product by name, as they mentioned there. And then it used MuleSoft to call into their invoicing system and pull back data. So all dynamically built by the GPT. You didn't have to code that in, which is pretty interesting. And all I had to do was give it sort of, well, that's sort of the generic out of the box actions. That's not a custom action, but you get the idea of what they're going for there. It tells you everything that it's doing. Just kind of goes through the flow a little bit. So yeah, that's all I've got today. Thanks. And if you have any other questions, I'll be sticking around for a little bit. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's my LinkedIn URL in the profile. Appreciate it.
I have one.
So you're all Salesforce experts.
Yeah. So is your background as a Salesforce admin who got into AI, or is your background like, what's your background?
I started my career as a developer,
As a developer.
Salesforce developer. I started with .NET full stack and then jumped into Salesforce full stack. Is pretty similar. Yeah, and got into architecture.
Gotcha. So you're a developer
Yeah,
in the Salesforce, gotcha,
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Salesforce. Yeah, and they have their own proprietary languages. and
Oh, for
stuff,
sure. Yeah,
of course.
I'm very aware.
Okay. Yeah, it's not very
There's a
different.
reason I avoid Salesforce, and it's because of their proprietary languages.
All right. All right. Salesforce is a great tool.
For sales.
No time to get service. Salesforce.
Like, would you, so part of the thing you said, is like, there was an ability to bring your own model. And you, like, you talked a lot about the security thing. So for people like, I don't know if it's paranoia, but as far as, let's call it data encapsulation, right? Like, you absolutely have some weird FDIC regulations, you have to keep all of your data in a certain,
Yeah.
fraud, whatever.
It has to stay in the system. It's sort of.
Literally itself, yes.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Would you recommend, like, it's like Salesforce has the layers and stuff. Would you, what would your recommendations? Leverage what Salesforce has built in, or just bring your own model that the Salesforce too plugins? What would you say your recommendation be for that situation?
So either way, if your restriction is the data has to stay in that
Yeah,
system,
you're kind of,
you're hamstrung there. But my suggestion would be figure out what the limits of the data masking are. I
Okay.
doubt anyone's pushed it to have every single field be data masked, right? But maybe you can go and set every single field. But Salesforce is notorious for their limits.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they've got some kind of limit that is before all of the fields.
yeah.
But that would keep your data in the system.
Cool.
Yes.
Did you use Apex?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
It's my bread and butter. I love it.
Yeah.
It's simpler. Yeah. I mean, being on the cloud or hosting your code on a server, there's a whole bunch more maintenance and caching and data cleanup that you have to deal with that I don't have to deal with as a Salesforce developer, right? They abstract that away from my problems, and I can focus on business logic, a little bit of the data layer, right? You do querying and stuff, so you do have to get a bit into that, but they have their own query language, right? It's SQL, not SQL, and it's simpler. So there's no joins in SQL. There are what's called parent and child relationships, which you get through subqueries. So they abstract it away and make it simple. And I like it, but I do feel like it makes it hard to jump into other areas. If you're a developer somewhere else, it's really easy to jump into Salesforce. And I bet that's what they had their mind on at the beginning. And if you're new to development, it's really easy to jump into Salesforce. But if you're like a senior Salesforce developer, there's a whole bunch of things that other languages have to worry about. Thank you.
That's a follow-up question based on your presentation. What is it like to try to do machine learning using Apex or AI using it?
Any other questions? Salesforce questions, AI questions? Might be a drink question. So.